Welcome to all of you or the viewers of the USA Citizens Network Media Group. As you know, that organization to which I belong, and I'm an attorney, my name is Bob Rust, we are attempting to provide means for people of good faith who know what they're talking about, have their credentials, to speak on issues that are very important to our society today, but which in large part are either being ignored or not properly covered by the mainstream media. The organization focuses on things like medical independence from the hospital systems, like election integrity, like what is occurring within our educational systems. And today we're going to revisit with a gentleman with a great passion on that issue as it relates to what's happening in the educational system with our sports, our athletes at both the secondary level, the college level, and the professional level. Dennis Atiyeh, who you see in the screen, is a fine gentleman, very successful businessman, and quite an athlete in his own right. If I remember properly, he played at the University of Pittsburgh, went to about every major bowl there was to go to. This is back when Pittsburgh was knocking him over. He also wrestled in the Olympics, and he is an avid follower and supporter of amateur sports and professional sports played out in the right way. And we had an interview with him earlier, which you're more than welcome to see on our website. But today we're going to, folks, let Dennis drill down a little bit more on the issues that he was talking about. I may jump in from time to time. We're going to keep this to about 30 minutes and poke at him just a little bit to make sure that what some issues that may be coming back on this matter that he has an opportunity to address. So with that, it's my great pleasure to reintroduce to our audience Mr. Dennis Atiyeh. Dennis, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Attorney Russ. You know, what we left out, my daughter and I, is that, the youth in our country are brought up that team matters. Together, everyone accomplishes more. I'm sure you've heard that, and the people watching have heard that. And it's almost, amateur sports is almost sacred. It's a beautiful thing. The friendships that are developed from these young women and men making these sacrifices, the parents, you meet friends, and it's just an awesome experience. And, there's basically, we all know there's two genders, and it's very clear by what the president's doing right now, and all of the Senate and the Congress is going to follow up with. There's two genders, and as Joe pointed out in our last interview, the truth. Let's just tell the truth. So males competing against female, it violates team. It violates the sacredness of female athletics. And they put so much into it. God bless them. I mean, every one of my daughters, they had private trainers. They had private coaches. They went to different camps and clubs and all traveled the country. And to see the all of their efforts for a male, to let a male compete against a female, it's just wrong. And it needs to stop. And what the president's doing right now is great. But it's going to come down to like the abortion issue. It's going to have to happen statewide. And what we're going to need to do as parents, look, we love everybody. We love the trans, whatever they want to call themselves. The confused people, we love them. But they can't compete against females. And it's got to stop. And there has to be responsible politicians get elected who are going to make sure that this is the policy of each state. In particular, we're in Pennsylvania right now. We have the governor of this state is just, wow, he's so bad. And he needs to be replaced. And we need to make sure that The women athletes in this state are being protected. And then the second thing is, if lawsuits have to get filed to protect our daughters, then so be it. Parents have to really look out and fight for our daughters. And that's I want to finish up basically that whole issue of males competing against females, but it goes one step further, Bob. The NCAA, that's my biggest gripe, that they're permitting this. The NCAA is bringing in foreign athletes, women, men, to take these scholarships and athletic opportunities and academic opportunities away from our daughters and our sons. It's the NCAA, the National Collegiate Athletic Association, and in their charters, they're supposed to have national athletes, American athletes. It's not the ICAA, the International Collegiate Athletic Association. And Bob, there's an invasion. Trust me when I tell you. In all of the female sports, from baseball to volleyball, even in men's sports. I mean, I watched a wrestling match on the Big Ten Network the other night, shifting over to the NCAA, the men's. So Minnesota was wrestling Rutgers, right? Minnesota's got a heavyweight that got paid by the WWE, the phony wrestling, got paid millions of dollars, and then went and signed a contract with the Buffalo Bills, got money from the Buffalo Bills. 3 years later, he comes back. He's wrestling it made millions of dollars. Now he's wrestling in the national championships. And here's the kicker: the guy he's wrestling from Rutgers, Rob, Attorney Russ, he's from a foreign country. So here's two opportunities that got stolen from two men wrestlers, heavyweights, that some pro athlete took his spot. And at Rutgers, they're saying, but while I'm watching, they're showing highlights of Penn State hockey. Penn State's playing Michigan next, and they're bragging about Penn State's goalie. He's from Russia. I mean, what in God's name is going on with the NCAA? They are totally feeling, and somebody needs to step in and straighten them out. They're making millions and millions of dollars in salaries, and it's just mind-boggling to me that our young women and young men who kill themselves, and trust me, they kill themselves. They're so much more advanced, and there's so much more that's sacrificing and by the parents to think that we have a foreign invasion. Listen, when Donald Trump said, let's make America great again, right? MAGA, right? That also means America first, our sons and daughters. And here's the NCAA. You see all these news flashes with the FAA has fallen short, and you name them. Every organization under the past president, I don't even want to say his name, is disgusting. So everything's falling apart, Attorney Russ. And my concern is something needs to be done to get back to what the NCAA charters say it should be.
Well, let me jump in. I think the one issue, for example, the men competing in women's sports, is very clear. You're either for it or you're against it, and if you're against it, you've laid it out. That needs to be brought to the attention of our representatives. There needs to be, I believe, you're going to lead into a serious congressional investigation of the NCAA on that issue itself. The other side of it, though, Dennis, I mean, you played 4 years as a starter at Pitt. You had international students on campus. You probably met some and made good friends with them. That's part of the education system. If I'm now giving you a counter argument, that's part of the educational system of our young people, men and women, broadening their horizons, meeting people. I think, for example, your background is Syrian. In Allentown, we have a huge, really great, vibrant Syrian community, and brought wonderful things here to many of the others that are non-Syrian. So what do you say to that? I mean, if I say to you, Dennis, what's wrong with bringing a Russian here to serve as a goalie as long as he's a legitimate student and is not like the guy you talked about that is from the fake wrestling brought back into the intercollegiate system. What do you say to the honest to God international student?
Well, my problem isn't with the student. My problem is with the universities, these liberal universities, okay, coming in and letting males compete against females. And then what they're also doing is rather than recruiting, you know how many kids sacrifice to play hockey in the state of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York. Hockey's a huge sport. So to think that here we are in Pennsylvania and State College, Pennsylvania, rather than recruiting a hockey player from Pennsylvania, they went over to Russia. Who knows how old he is? Who knows how legitimate he is? Who knows the records? You know, these foreign countries don't keep records like America keeps. You understand? He might say he's 21 years old. He could be 31 years old, if you're hearing me. But the point is they have no business competing in athletics because it's the NCAA, the National Collegiate Athletic Association, not the ICAA, Attorney Russ. So the problem I'm having is with the NCAA, and I'm looking out. My main thing is looking out for our kids. I'm concerned about our sons, our daughters, and them having a level playing field and having opportunities open up for them, not getting crapped on and just having them bypassed for foreigners who we don't even know who they are. The point I'm making is the liberal universities, okay, who have promoted this agenda, the liberal NCAA that have promoted these types of agendas. And I think that our universities are getting federal money. They're getting alumni support from American alumni, and they should have to fill their openings with American athletes, Attorney Russ. You aren't going to hear what I'm telling you from anybody else but me. You hear what I'm saying to you? Because I lived it. I just raised 8 children, and all of them competed, and I seen things like, oh, just scratch my head. I want to scream. You hear what I'm saying to you? But I'm bringing it to this show because this is a very legitimate way to get this information out to the citizens that they could say, I mean, USA Citizens Network, what a great name. You hear what I'm saying here? So let's get this out so people are discussing it and they're talking about it and they're saying, hey, my alumni university, I'm not going to send you $1,000 this year or $10,000 this year because you didn't give a Pennsylvania kid an opportunity. You hear what I'm saying to you? And that's, I just want to let the people know that these are the types of things that are going on. And I think the NCAA has fallen apart. Someone's got to grab it and shake it up. Making $4 million a year now for profit. Come on. I mean, something needs to be done.
Who's making $4 million a year?
The head of the NCAA. $4 million a year. It's a not-for-profit. No. Listen, how many scholarships? Excuse me, Attorney Russ?
Excuse me for interrupting, Dennis. You've obviously got a great passion for this. You're really into it. And indeed, people need to hear both the passion and the logic behind it. And the logic that I just heard, I want you to tell me if I'm wrong, is that you sense and you believe and think can be shown before, whether it's a congressional committee or if necessary a court, that the system has gotten so skewered, so corrupted, if I can use that strong term, that at the collegiate level, we're not even talking about anything else with the collegiate level, the deck has been stacked against the American athlete and for the foreign athlete. They're getting privileges that they shouldn't get. There's not a level playing field if I'm hearing you correctly. Am I hearing you right?
Well, I would tell you I can't say because there's so many. There's such a heavy influx from every country, from Europe, from Asia, from South America. They're coming in from all over the place to compete in the NCAA, and they're taking. What I'm offended by is we have these beautiful kids. My kids all done fine. We have all these beautiful kids that are killing themselves. I see them. I go to the wrestling tournaments with my sons. I go to the volleyball tournaments with my daughters. I go to the row meets. I go to all the soccer games and the various things, the softball. You name the sport. We have foreigners being put in front of our American athletes that they might be a little bit better, but they might not. But guess what? This isn't the International Collegiate Athletic Association, Attorney Russ. It's the National Collegiate Athletic Association, and their charter and their funding is for Americans, not foreigners. So I think that the NCAA is just falling apart, and they don't care. They got these liberals. They don't keep track of what is or isn't happening. But I don't have a problem with foreign students. I don't. I want to make that real clear. You know, if they want to come over here, if they want to spend their money in our universities, that's fine. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? I have a problem with the foreigner up in State College. They have a goalie who took an American goalie's opportunity to play for Penn State in hockey in the Big Ten. It's huge. I was watching. I was shocked. I'm watching the game. I never watched it. I hardly watched TV. They had like 10,000 people at a hockey game. I was like, whoa, what the heck? And then I'm watching the wrestling meet, the same thing. The same thing. I'm like, here's a guy from I think he's from Yugoslavia or Czechoslovakia or something like that. And why is he wrestling and not some stud heavyweight from New Jersey at Rutgers at their state university? Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And there's plenty of tough kids. And that's what I want to bring to light in this particular segment, not just the males competing against females that everyone knows is wrong. Okay. There's also some other situations with the NCAA besides what we spoke about last time, the 17 game schedule, which I'm totally against because of the head injuries and the various injuries. And see, here's the problem, Bob, Attorney Russ. These guys that are running the NCAA and women, they are so liberal and so off course, and the majority of them never even competed in athletics. They're like, so here they are making these decisions, and they have no idea. Like I had said to you, every single play in a football game, every single play, you can get a turf toe or a concussion. Every single play. You know what I'm saying here? And extending it six more games. And did you see the game? All these guys, I watched the game. Okay, which I just watched it because I'm starting to do these shows with the network. Every guy had elbow pads, knee pads. They were limping around. They were on their second and third rounds, and everyone was injured. The entire teams were injured. They had none of their original starters playing. They're all beat up, and then the guys that are starters that are playing, they're probably seniors, and they're masking it with drugs because they don't want to let anyone see that they're injured because it would affect their chances in the draft, Attorney Russ. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So for them to come out and just do 17 games, and let me tell you what else. That Ohio State team that won, they're a great team. But, they have this saying about beating somebody twice. I mean, Oregon beat them the first go-around, right? So now Oregon gets stuck with, they got that saying, don't make a mad dog matter, Right. When you beat, it's so hard to beat somebody twice. You wrestled. Right. I wrestled. I beat an All-American my freshman year at Pitt. The guy was a stud. I beat him, man. But I met him in the semifinals of the Easterns. Oh boy, he had a full head of steam. He was 300 plus pounds. He beat me. I lost in the semifinals. I only took third in Easterns, but that guy, he wanted to kill me. You know what I'm saying to you? So beating somebody twice is so hard. So in fairness to Oregon, for them to beat a number one ranked team and then have to play someone that they just beat a couple of weeks ago, that's right. I don't know if Ohio State was the best team. I think the best team was the first game of the season, and I don't want to take nothing away from Ohio State. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? But if it was the traditional way where number one plays number four or number one plays number two, I think 2 games, a 2-game playoff is more than enough. Because for 100 plus years, the press chose the national champs yet. And everybody complained. Now we're leading into the college football a little bit too. So everybody complained, oh, it's not right, it's not right. Well, now they're up to 12 games. Before you know it, they're going to be up to 64 games like basketball. You understand? And guess what? You know, if no one speaks up for those young athletes, for those young football players and those injuries that they're receiving and the exploitation of having to play that much longer of a season, those kids didn't sign up for that. When they got their scholarship, it was a 12-game schedule with maybe 2 championship games. Now it's 17 games, Attorney Russ. 17 games. And let me tell you, and this is what bothers me too, there's so many records that have been set by these great athletes and these great coaches. Bear Bryant, wow, what an awesome coach. You understand? It's like a joke now.
Oh.
He played a 10-game schedule, right? He played with all white guys, nothing against black guys, right? So now it's up to 17 games. I mean, Bear Bryant's record's going to go to hell. You can, and is that fair to him and to his family and to his legend? Do you hear what I'm saying to you? And there's so many athletes across the country that have records. I have a sack record at the University of Pittsburgh. I played 12 games, right, with a bowl. Now Pitt can play 17 games. I'm not going to be the all-time nose guard sacker in Pitt football history anymore. It's just a matter of time, not necessarily because it was a great record, but they're playing 7 more games in a season. So there's historical facts that legendary athletes and people, look, I don't really care about it, but I laugh about it because there's a big time defensive tackle playing for the Rams. His name's Donalds. He's like the league MVP. He played at Pitt, and I out-sacked him and I out-tackled him. You understand, Attorney Russ? It's something fun to talk about with my buddies. My buddies joke about it, and my wife and my kids. But now, 17 games, it's going to be in the garbage in a couple of years, and I won't even be part of the history. And how fair is that? Not just to me, but to all those great coaches and great athletes and Mills in the football world to have that taken away from them. So that's just another.
Well, you make some, again, great points with great passion. I'm going to throw one more thing at you, and we're going to come back to what you really want to do, and that's get this up and surfaced before the public, before our elected representatives, before the judicial system. But the one thing I think someone would counter you would say, wait a minute, Dennis. Many of these young athletes are getting paid in collegiate level. Mm-hmm. They're fine with being able to exhibit their talents and get paid at the same time. It's not as pristine as you're saying. I'm giving you the counter argument now that these young people started off at the age of 5 and worked their tails off to get what they are. There's been money put into the system already. Now, is that the fault of the NCAA?
It is. It really is, because it shouldn't be there.
Okay.
These are amateur athletes. If you look up the definition of an amateur athlete, that's someone that doesn't get paid. They compete.
Okay.
They compete for God. They compete for community. They compete for family. They compete for themselves. It's a great opportunity. My mother was an immigrant, and I was able to get a scholarship to go to the University of Pittsburgh, and it was great. I was happy with that scholarship. I got a double major, and I was fed and I was taken care of, and it was great stuff. And the friendships that I developed, like we were talking about, the skill levels, the intelligence levels, the things that come naturally, the team together, everyone accomplished more. I'm great friends with guys like, wow, legendary guys. Dan Marino's a dear friend of mine. I mean, what the great opportunities, the friendships that develop. Now these guys are transferring all over the place. You understand?
Right.
They're missing out on the most valuable thing in life. That's team, that's friendship, that's love, that's sincerity. And now they're washing it down the drain like the NFL. My whole point is, if you want to get paid, go to the NFL. Which brings me to my next point. You know what I'm saying here? The NFL, they love the fact that these kids are getting paid, because a lot of times guys get paid and they become bust outs. You understand, Attorney Russ? So what happens is,
right,
a guy gets paid a lot of money, all of a sudden he don't want to play football anymore. You know what I'm saying to you?
Right.
So these college players getting paid, the NFL likes it because that's going to sort out more bust outs. Guys that are making money. And here's the thing. We all know the story of the large majority of NFL players that make money. They all go bankrupt. They go broke. You know what I'm saying to you? They don't have 2 cents. They don't have a pot to piss in. That's the word, right? And now you're going to put that on a 18-year-old. You're going to give him $1 million to an 18-year-old. All of the evils that are in the world today with these stupid gadgets and phones and shit that they got. Now you're going to give a guy $1 million. You're going to ruin the kid. You understand? So getting back to the NCAA and these liberals, they're going to ruin the kids. They're going to ruin the athletics. They're going to ruin football. And that's where it's going. It's in a very big spiral going down the toilet. And that's what's going to happen to NCAA athletics if the NCAA doesn't get straightened out. And I would tell you, it spirals right into the NFL because this whole gambling thing. I mean, look, in the NCAA, Bob, I don't find it coincidental that somehow or another, these geniuses that are running the NCAA and the bracketing, they had Ohio State, Penn State, Texas, and Notre Dame in the Final Four of the four largest alumni in the country. How do those four somehow or another make it into so who's doing the bracketing? Who's doing they want people to watch these games, gamble on these games, and the ratings go up. So who makes all this money? Well, the liberal universities that are using these kids, these NCAA guys that are getting paid millions of dollars to do nothing. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? And that's where it's got to stop. It goes right into the NFL. It's the same. The management of the USA Citizens Network, I told them that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win, that we're going to go to the Super Bowl. And they laughed at me. They said, why? I said, well, there's this singer. She's a witch. Her name is, her name is Taylor Swift, right? So listen, I'm going to take it to the NFL now, and because we're getting towards the end of our show. But the NFL, and I don't remember something. I sort of live off the grid, but I cheat a little bit. I'm not an Amish guy, but I'm not I'm not your New Yorker with every bells and whistles and gidget and gadget in the world. So I've been watching a little bit of football and wrestling. That's my weakness. I do watch a little bit of it. So I told the management of the USA Citizens Network 3 weeks ago that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be in the Super Bowl, right? And he laughed at me, right? He said, why? I said, because of Taylor Swift. So he laughed. So I talked to him this past week, Anthony. So I said, Anthony, what do you think? He said, wow, Dennis, how'd you know that? I said, listen, the NFL is fixing the games so that they can get great television ratings. He goes, come on. I'm like, yeah, that Swift is drawing crowds like you can't believe. And here's the thing. Anthony sent me some information. There's a ton of people saying this. There's a ton of people saying it. I'm not the first to say it, which I'm surprised. But here's what they're missing, Attorney Russ. They're not making money off of gambling. You understand? So they're not fixing the games and they're not betting. You can bet at any place anymore. But you got major casinos like the MGM, and they're taking big bets on these football games. So they're saying, they're not seeing any irregularities. Do you understand? Well, guess what? Where they're cashing in is on the TV ratings. Their TV ratings are soaring. They're up. My wife printed something out for me, and they're up. They're up like 500% with women between the ages of 18 and 25. Now listen, 500% because of Taylor Swift. Okay? Now, the Kansas City Chiefs value, according to, Fortune.com, went up. Now listen to this. Because of Taylor Swift's influence on the Kansas City Chiefs, their value went up $331 million. $331 million. My wife gave this to me today. I'm like, babe, can you do some research on what's going on with this Taylor Swift and the Chiefs, right? So Their television ratings went up 500%. Okay? The NFL's television ratings when the Kansas City Chiefs play. Now, here's the thing. Her boyfriend, his podcast is the most popular podcast in America for athletes. Okay? I wonder why. His sales of his jerseys are like off the roof. They can't stock them, right? So where they're making their money at is in fixing the game so everybody watches. All these women and liberal young women are watching these NFL games with the Kansas City Chiefs, Attorney Russ, and they're making boatloads of money off their television contracts because their ratings have never been that high. Now, throw in the gambling, right? Every other ad on the NFL is gamble, 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 gamble. I watched a couple of their games. So you got everybody gambling, and you got all these young women watching the Kansas City Chiefs are watching football. So who's going to win? Who's going to win? If the Kansas City Chiefs lose, guess what? Now, the Buffalo Bills coach is a friend of mine. He worked out with me. He's from Quakertown, Pennsylvania. Okay? Those guys killed themselves this past week and fought like crazy to win that game, and they got robbed. Point blank robbed. I didn't watch the game. My son told me, he said, Dad, they cheated them. They got a first down at the end of the game. They were driving the score. They went for it on fourth down, and the official said it wasn't a first down. Everybody in America knows that was a first down, Attorney Russ. You hear what I'm saying to you? So
I saw it.
So the NFL, they're not gambling. The owners aren't gambling. And if you look at all the stuff my wife printed out and gave me, the guys are missing it. They're saying, well, they're not gambling. There's no irregularities and so forth and so on. And when, well, guess what? They're making their money off the television in the end. And guess what? And guess who benefits from that? Every single owner. Every single owner. And I'm going to finish up with this. The liberals are involved too. If you look at the teams that make the playoffs over the last couple of years, the Super Bowls, the Rams won 3 years ago. The 49ers were in 2 years ago. You understand? The Ravens, the Eagles. You look at the big Democratic ports, the Steelers. Look, man, the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win this Super Bowl. Let me tell you why. They want to try to reestablish the Democratic Party, and they're going to have that Shapiro. He's going to be all over the news with the Philadelphia Eagles, rah rah rah, like that other governor who used to do a talk show with the Eagles. What the hell was that guy? Rendell. Like, what's this guy doing a talk show with the Philadelphia Eagles? So professional football has gotten so huge and so influential, and people are out of their minds gambling on it, cheering for it. A couple kids, my daughter's going to medical school. One of my daughters down in Philadelphia, she said a poor kid who was a gymnast climbed the telephone pole and fell off and died because they won the NFC. Did you know about that? Did you hear about that?
No.
Yeah, at the Super Bowl, they had a Super Bowl. I mean, they had a NFC championship. Some athlete climbed a pole, fell off it. There was all kind of fights and chaos and so forth and so on. Listen, people got to get control of themselves. Don't worship the almighty dollar or the almighty football team. Worship the almighty God. And they need to really understand what's going on. They're using the fan base. They're using the people. They're promoting all of the wrong things. Do you understand? Because of some witch, they're fixing football games because she and her fans are watching the Kansas City Chiefs. Give me a break. But that's what's going on.
Okay. Well, look, we're going to have to close it down. But I'm going to try to summarize the best I can. I mean, all parents, and particularly parents who have been athletes themselves, understand what you say about the spirituality, the special emotional benefit that comes to young girls and young boys simply by being part of a team and learning what that's all about. It's part of them developing their own morality system, their own sense of values. The same thing that you're saying should and has been for a lot of years.
And work ethic.
Right through junior.
And work ethic.
Work ethic. right through, particularly work ethic, right through high school and college. Your message, if I'm hearing it correctly, is that the system has now become so perverted that if it's left unchecked, it's going to ruin not just the sports system as we know it, it's going to be detrimental to those fundamental values of upbringing of young people that understand the work ethic, that understand what it is to help out a fellow teammate, understand what it is that to work together, that is in danger of being destroyed. Am I saying that too strongly?
You're right on. And the struggle, the struggle, listen, St. Paul says this, our struggles, our trials, our tribulations, our hardships is our wealth. That's what builds you. That's what makes you into a godly man or woman and the like. You understand? To put millions of dollars in athletics, in college athletes, and bring in foreigners and have males compete against females, man, it's such a toxic mix, Attorney Russ. I believe this great American pastime of amateur athletics is going to go to hell if something's not done sooner than later.
Okay. With that strong, passionate statement, I think I'm going to bring this to a close, but to say to you, please do use this interview to get it in front of people that have power to do something about it before it gets completely out of hand. I will tell you that we will do that with USA Citizens Network Group as well, with the audience that follows us. And I know that they're going to be, you're stirring up some things. There are going to be people that are not going to be happy with what you say, but that's fine. That's where everything good, in my judgment, starts. It starts at the ground level when something like this is, when people start to see the whole system being perverted. And I thank you and I applaud you for your courage and your passion. And may you indeed get before the right people with this message.
Always with the help of God. Always with the help of God.
Always with the help of God. Amen. Amen. And with that, I will conclude this podcast and just encourage the audience to really give serious, prayerful consideration to what Dennis Atiyeh has said to us today. And not just say, well, that's nice. Get up off your chair and do something about it.
Don't let anybody steal your daughter's or son's opportunities. You'll regret it for the rest of your lives. It's such a great experience. The American athletic and academic experience is so awesome. Don't let anybody steal that from your children, man. Go fight the fight.
Amen. As they said in Bunker Hill, praise the Lord and pass the ammunition.
Amen.
Okay. All right. We'll say good evening and we'll conclude this podcast.
Thank you.